Thank you very much for joining the Virtual Breakfast Club for Climate Resilience in Agriculture for Smallholders. This club is an interactive collegial platform for promising tech-enabled startups and inventors, practitioners, donors, all the key stakeholders and other stakeholders who may be interested in generating solutions for climate resilience in agriculture. Climate resilience in agriculture for smallholders. So we're generally generating and upscaling solutions for smallholder farmers in agriculture. Now, my name is Edward Biketi. I am a specialist working with Microsoft Consulting, and we launched this club last year in October. We've been having, we've had like 2 webinars, and this is the 3rd beginning this year as we go on. We have another chapter of the club in Asia, which is doing the same for Asia. So here, this is for Africa, and we're starting for Africa, and I'm heading this chapter for Africa. We're beginning with East Africa as we expand. So the membership journey for Virtual Breakfast Club is that it allows active members to promote pitches and content on our social media platforms. It is also a platform that offers access to international chapters for active members. Selected members who are eligible for our selected applicants who become our members are eligible to attend monthly Zoom calls where we have different topics. And the platform also organizes special focus on webinars and in-person workshops for promising active members. So today our topic is on the nexus of AgTechs and extension service providers. How can we strengthen farmers' resilience to climate change, and what lessons can emerge? So on the panel, we have Polycarp Ondege. Please introduce yourself.
Hello, all the panelists. My name is Polycarp Ondege. I'm a senior agronomist with the DigiFarm company, Kenya Limited. DigiFarm is a branch of Safaricom that is the digital platform in terms of actually helping the farmers to get registered. Then most of the things are taken towards the digital one. I am glad to be here today.
Okay, we also have Vinay Kandapal from India. Please introduce yourself.
Hi everyone. Myself, Dr. Vinay Kandapal. I'm working as an associate professor here in UPS, Dehradun, India. So my work was actually, I done my work in the area of socio-economic development of financial inclusion in a state here in Uttarakhand, India. And we have seen like farmer faces a lot of issues when they see a difference, because in India, there is a wider difference in the price level, what the farmer produce and they sell in the market, and sometimes they have to bear consequences due to the climate issues, and they suffer losses. So there is some issues are there, how they, recently we have a hilly area like Joshimath is there, and there is a issue regarding due to climate issues and due to the development work. There is a farmers, and especially the people living in there are facing a lot of hardships. So that could be an interesting area as far as Asia is concerned.
Okay, thank you very much, Inde.
Yeah.
We also have Derek Muredi from Nalima, I think. Please introduce yourself.
Okay, thank you. My name is Derek Muredi. I'm a farmer. I also have a digital background on data science. That is experience in data science and data analysis. I also happen to be the CEO of Nalima. So at Nalima, we deal with digital extension platform that is mainly targeting information dissemination to smallholder farmers. I'm glad to be here to be part of the session, and yeah, let's have a good session. Thank you.
Okay, most welcome to all the panelists. Thank you so much for joining the Virtual Breakfast Club as we find our journey to try and help farmers improve their productivity against the climate change, which has become a very serious issue globally. We have four topics where we are going to discuss our topic today, 4 subtopics, and we are in topic 10 minutes. So quickly, to the essence of time, the first question is, can AgTechs be a substitute for in-person extension services to improve resilience of smallholders in East Africa? Because why we're asking this question is because the extension services have become almost dormant in East Africa. And given the rise of AgTechs in East Africa, they have come and taken up the space where they're disseminating information to farmers to try and help them mitigate against climate change. So the question is, can AgTechs be a substitute for in-person extension services to improve climate resilience? So let us start with Polycarp, please. Give us your insights.
Thanks a lot, Dr. On the same question, on the first question, my answer would be no. But now, because when we talk about agricultural technologies against extension officers, the two can only go together. But now the latter, the former, that is agricultural technology, can only complement and supplement extension workers and also can make their work easier. For example, in our company as a DigiFarm, we actually have put almost over 20,000 farmers on the platform. So they can order the inputs online, they can register online, they can learn online, but still there are guidelines which will still need the extension worker, especially when it comes to practical and the demos. So eventually, for now, no. But now agricultural technology can supplement and also can introduce what we call farmer to extension officer ratio. For example, when they have learned a lot, then the extension officer or agronomist now comes to just clarify a few things and also do demo, because our farmers are not very well conversant when they are not guided, especially practically. So there is still a space for the extension officers to do demos, but now moving forward with the time, after a long period of time, let's say 20, 30 years, the question is yes, agricultural technology can take over, but for now, they have to go hand in hand.
Okay, thank you for that. So you're saying they complement each other at the moment, and then later on, AgTechs
one can take the space of the other. But at the level of our farmers, from my long and rich experience in the digital farming, we are still too premature to actually substitute the former for the latter.
Okay.
But eventually, it is possible. It's practical.
Oh, thank you so much for that. Okay, Vinay, what are your insights about this, please?
Actually, as I briefed in the initial discussion, like there are a lot of differences due to even the nutritional value of a particular food items, but what are we using as the nutrients, and the it has declined over the year with the people using some at the time of producing a particular product, they are compromising somewhere about the quality of the food products they are supplying in the market. And it could be due to the climate issues, and again there could be a competition that is increasing in the market nowadays, that people are compromising somewhere on the quality of the products.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for that, Derek. Give us your insights about that, please.
And I will add on later on.
Okay. Thank you, Doctor. My insights will be no, or rather not yet, because If we look at technology, technology is a tool, and taking some steps backwards, if we look at the people who initialized agriculture, they used some simple tools to help them in their harvesting. So over the time as agriculture has advanced, also the tools have advanced. But the idea is that it's the human beings that control the tools to improve their productivity. And that's why we keep on trying to find ways to work easier on the farm, understand what's happening on the farm. So I would say extension services officers are actually key because they need to extend the context in situational emergencies on the farm. And also they act as a conduit between the farmers and the researchers, and also as a common frame of reference, because the researchers discover through demonstrations, then the farmers implement and apply on the farm. But the extension officers are the ones who disseminate and make the trainings to the farmer, because they have the digital know-how that most farmers do not have, able to for the farmer in terms of their advice and bring that effectiveness and efficiency while they are advising the farmers.
Okay, thank you for these beautiful insights about the Nexus. Just a teasing insight from me. These AgTechs are also disseminating information to farmers. If we look at the weather and climate services, if you look at the data-driven services, if you look at the agricultural financial services, they're generally also disseminating information. It's not technologies like we can term them. So anyway, let's move forward. It's good to see that almost all of you are accepting that these things have to complement each other. You cannot just have one running. The human interface is very, very important. Although for us, the extension system, public, especially the public one that you have been relying on, has really gone down in East Africa. So thank you for that. Let us move to the next question. Now, the next question here is, could extension service providers support the adoption of AgTechs by smallholders to build climate resilience? Could extension service providers support the adoption of AgTechs by smallholders to build climate resilience? Let us start with Polycarp. Please give us your insights on that.
Thank you very much. The answer, my direct answer would be yes. And if you look at the model of extension workers, they work directly with the farmers. And most of these farmers are small-scale farmers. Yeah. So you find that the risk of actual change of climate takes place at the rural areas, the farm, actually, and a group of extension who learned a little bit earlier on. They have the knowledge, but a few changes, especially climate mitigation practices that have been brought to book of late, they are not very much conversant and familiar with. But now I would propose that all the extension officers should be actually equipped with the climate mitigation programs that have been put in place by the non-governmental organization, by the government itself. But now, once they are fully equipped, they can really help the small-scale farmers, because most of the things, when we talk of cutting trees, planting the trees which are not environmental friendly, poor practices of on the farm, all that are done by the small-scale holders. And if you look at, like in Kenya, small-scale scale holders are outnumber the large-scale owners. So if we start with them by training, and especially first of all, studying the extension workers, and the same information is disseminated, and when we incorporate it with the technology, for example, IT, whereby farmers can learn a little bit, and whatever they don't get right is explained by the farmer, the answer is yes. I want to give an example with for example, in DigiFarm. Our farmers, there's a learning lesson. If you dial *944 as a farmer, then it will take you to different platforms. One platform, number 2, is Learn. So from there, you can learn about climate, you can learn about all the requirements of different crops. But now still, the farmers come with questions asking us, I learned about tomato growing. How about this? So there is a piece of job that the extension officer still work, even if we put a technology in place. So the answer is the right people to actually train the small scale farmers, because they interact with them more oftenly at the extension officers. But now that also comes with a challenge, because if you look at the model which was adopted by the Kenyan government, it is not one-on-one visit. We talk of farmers are supposed to be trained on small groups, and these small groups have got different interests. So an extension officer or an agronomist goes to train people basically on tomatoes, but you find that in that particular area, only 5 will be growing tomatoes. So they are not interested at all. So if there would be mobilization by the government, so that we put all specific crop growers aside in small groups, so that when we train the tomato farmers, we just get the tomato. When we do the onions, we just do that. That would really actually facilitate that. And then also there should be training of TOTs, because if you look at now the government, for example, in Kenya, we have the county government. It is very hard for the county government extension officers to reach everyone, because even the resources are restrained. Sometimes they don't even get fuel. So if we could have maybe the other stakeholders and other players like private sector, who could actually train TOTs on the information that we get, so that at least in every village we have their own with at least basic knowledge of the changes, then that can be incorporated, so that when we come as the agronomists, we only emphasize on what on a ball which has started to be run. So I think it is very possible, but now we also have challenges as government of East Africa, more specifically Kenya. Extension work is not much embraced, and it has really gone down, just as the doctor said. Over the few years, it is low.
Okay, thank you. Derek, could you give us your insights, please, about this?
Yes. I will say yes, they can support AgriTech, because you see the AgriTech direction is oriented towards understanding what happens on the farm, like when it comes to value chains and supply chains. The idea is that to understand the value chain, you need the people behind that understanding, the domain knowledge, where it is occupied by extension officers, and mostly information from research to the farmer and vice versa among the various institutions involved, mostly in rural development, is seriously hampered by the lack of a common frame of reference. So I would say agronomists, veterinaries, everyone who is in information dissemination, but also checking on accountability, and also making sure that there is accessibility of that information to the smallholder farmers. If they're equipped with now what we call the AgriTech, the technology aspect of it, they can deliver this information efficiently and effectively.
Thank you for that very intensive insight about it. Now, let us also ask Vinay and Paul, what are your insights about this, especially from Asia?
Actually, this importance of these extension services is helping small holders to address the key challenges in the agriculture production. And we cannot overlook these issues, but relative studies, we have seen that people are working less in this particular area, how the capacities of agriculture extension, somewhere the agents are involved, can be built to be more cost effective. So the cost effective, and they reaches the target audience well. And we have seen that Yes, there are certain questions to be asked, like identified capacity building needs, such as developing the extension agents' technical skills. They must be the agents or the one who is connecting with the farmers and the target audience. They must be themselves aware about the various aspects, how they can they are digitally aware or not. And again, their training is required, and improving the knowledge use of climate smart agriculture interventions, such as the soil conservation methods. Training on the ICT is required, and how to deliver the advice on the climate change. And certain other areas that needs to be included is developing the skills in the field demonstration, how they evaluate different projects, and addressing questions like the key barriers confronted by the agriculture agents, the lack of the appropriate extension material, high agriculture extension agent to farmer ratios. People living in a particular area is less, but you are involving more agents in that particular area. And again, wider barriers are there, like the effectiveness of the extension effort, included farmer resistance to the changes. Uh, these efforts should be supported with a regular assessment of the extension agents' capacity building needs. So these are certain areas that needs to be looked into.
Okay, thank you very much for that, gentlemen. Let's move to our third question, where we're asking, what digital public infrastructure or interface do we need to enable extension service providers and AgTechs benefit from each other for climate resilience in East Africa? I'll repeat the question. What digital public infrastructure interface do we need to enable extension service providers and AgTechs benefit from each other? So the digital infrastructure that we have, which one is good? And if we have a current one working, let me start with the Vinay this time, once again.
Yeah, actually, decision makers regarding the building up an infrastructure like that in Indian, we have seen situation prices of some vegetables rising in a time period. In certain cases, price drop of a certain product like onion, for example, and in certain situations increasing. So there should be for monitoring of the people and how different farmers of areas are connected through digital platform. Like decision makers need to have access high quality information, consistent data, what is the production environment, including the import and export and your requirement, and uncertainty should be clearly communicated and valued, and there should be access to the tools needed to support the decision making under uncertainty. We have seen a number of times the prices are increasing to 100 sometime, and in other situation the farmers are forced to sell off their products, and even they are wasting their products. They are not selling into the market. So access to the information should be complemented with the development of technical and the institutional capacity to manage the climate related risk. And again, certain issues are like infrastructure project and policy appraisal, including the strategic environment assessment, environmental impact assessment should be there, and again their regulatory and economic standards such as the building codes is required. And last point I would like to discuss, like climate risk disclosure. Whatever the issues, climate changes and the weather information should be clearly passed on to the farmers and the target audience. So climate risk disclosure can help raise awareness of and encourage in efforts to reduce the climate related risk to the infrastructure. And the risk from the climate changes, we know that they are diverse and vary by the national circumstances, and there are multi-possible metrics for measuring the progress and addressing those risks. This is my point.
Thank you so very much, Vinay.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, Polycarp, please give us your insights.
Thanks a lot. Now,
yeah.
When you talk of climate change to an ordinary East African farmer, the mind goes to two things: the excess sunshine and also the excess rain. So there has to be a balance of the two. For example, when we talk of extended, for example, in East Africa, the major challenge is not even the flooding. The major challenge is on the drought. So when we talk about that, that means I would put a strategy I can call research results distribution. Research result distribution, because already we have the government has done research, the non-governmental organizations have done research, world organizations have done research on how, on the right crops, on the ways we should actually manage our crop during excess rain, and how we can also come up with the crop. And already the crops are in place that can survive during the dry spell, and the drought, the plants which need very little moisture. So all that information is also already there. It is with the government, it is with the research institutes, and also it is with the one. Now the problem is, how does this information come from the research institute? For example, whether it is CALO, whether it is the CIPE, whether it is FAO, and the rest, and it boils down to the people who need it most. Because our farmers are actually wise enough to do what you do. For example, right now I'm running a program whereby we advocating for sorghum and soybean in Homa Bay, in those actually semi-arid areas, in Homa Bay and Nyatike part, Homa Bay specifically, and in Homa Bay County, Homa Bay, the areas like Dewa and the rest. Now in Homa Bay, in Migori County, we are also doing it in the drought-stricken areas like Nyatike. This is a very good program because we've come up with varieties from Calro and Esipe, which can basically actually mature after 2.5 to 3 months. So if you look at the rain pattern of Kenya, the rain, there is certainty of rain in March, from March, then two months after March, there is rain. So anything which is planted in maybe in mid-March, if it is a crop which has been proven, and it can only take like 2 to 3 months to mature, will do well for the semi-arid. So that is one part. But now, not all farmers know that we have crops which can never fail whatsoever the case during the dry spell. Because one major challenge that East Africa faces is not the flood, it's about the drought. So dissemination of information which has been acquired by the institutions to reach the farmer is a major problem. For example, we have the private sector players in agriculture. Most of them are crop specific. They are either dealing in soybean, they are dealing in maybe sorghum, but now not general structure. But now we also have other stakeholders who deal in specific crop. I would propose that there should be a multi-agency on implementing implementary body, whereby we have the all the stakeholders on board. That is the government entities, the private sector, and representatives of the farmer meeting regularly to discuss the outcomes that have come out of the research. And then there should be a committee which is specifically concerned with the implementation of the same. Because farmers can do the right things, but they lack the information, or the information which reaches them is not well explained to them, because we have lack of extension officers, and also the NGOs or the non-governmental sector players will narrow down to one specific crop. And they are not all over Kenya, because you will find most of the people getting their activities to drought-stricken areas. But now leaving aside the areas where we have nearly well-distributed rainfall. So that dissemination from the source to actually to the real farmer is still a problem in Kenya. And the only way to come out of that is that we need multi-agency, which brings on the real farmers, the farmers' representatives, the non-governmental players, and also government coming together. And there should be a regular check-up of the implementation. That way, we will actually get some results.
Okay. Derek, give us your insights, please.
Okay, thank you, Doctor. So for me, I would narrow down an infrastructure that has these three common characteristics: that it has accountability, accessibility, and interoperability. If I can go deeper, accountability means that a system, an infrastructure where there is knowledge traceability, as also the crops or the products traceability. One thing that Polycarp has mentioned is having programs that interface this knowledge. But then, if we take an example like fish farming in Kenya, there has been many programs that are putting farmers into groups and also having a way of following up on the product development or how the farmer is developing, growing knowledge-wise, and also their produce, how it is increasing on the farm. So accountability can actually put across a lot of a credibility of what is being shared to the farmer and how are they adopting to it. And then going to accessibility. Accessibility, but are they getting information localized to their area? Like, for example, in agronomy, most zones in Kenya need have specific agroecological needs. And the way we interface these to farmers, like Polycarp has mentioned, there could be group dissemination where also technology can be enhanced to can be used to enhance these activities of working together in groups. Like, there's an example in Zimbabwe where they were utilizing a blockchain technology where farmers can consolidate their produce and have a way to export their produce. And this means that the environment has been put optimal for that production to happen. And then there is interoperability. Dr. Bitek, you mentioned on data, and mostly this data, actually I was just referring, this data in agriculture exists and some point on at a niche, but then when you go to the research institutes, they have not yet adopted technology that enables them to share this data within the stakeholder industry. And one good example is like the fintech. The financial technology industry has been able to share data across platforms, communication platforms like Safaricom, also indexing. They're able to calculate credit scores. It means this ecosystem has stakeholders who are connected, and interoperability means that in agriculture, if this ecosystem is enhanced, the way they're able to interface with each other and share this data. An example is the FAO AgroVoc dictionary, where it's actually being used to help standardize how information can be shared among stakeholders. And one example is the CGIAR platform. So I think an infrastructure that has these three characteristics can be able to connect the farmer to even to the consumer once there is accountability, accessibility, and interoperability in both the value chains and the supply chains.
Thank you very much, Derek. Thank you for opening up that space. Accountability, accessibility, and interoperability to integrate together to facilitate the interface of information to the farmer from the extension and research systems. Thank you very much for that. Now, Our last question here is, what are the opportunities and challenges for extension service providers to strengthen climate resilient agriculture in East Africa? Let us start with Polycarp.
You can do that, those farming that do not need a lot of labor, because you are managing a small place. That is in terms of opportunity. So our extension workers officers should get use or utilize fully the available technologies, yeah, that are being put in place to help them. For example, I want to give just a simple example. An opportunity whereby if you have an acre of a farm and you are doing maybe your tomatoes and it has only rained 2, 3, 4 times, you can do the ridges. When you do the ridges, then between the ridges, you're gonna go ahead and do what we call the tie ridges. When it rains, maybe 3 to 4 inches rain can take up to 2 weeks. And when you do your plants on a ridge, the lifespan of the moisture will be extended by another 3 weeks. But now when you do the tie ridges, that is within your ridges, you again do the small blocks that can add it to another 1 good week. So that's such like technologies are there with us, and we are ready to share with them. And when we share, they should take advantage of that. That is in terms of opportunity. So extension officers or extension workers should utilize the available modern ways of farming. And they should combine it with the traditional one. For example, even mulching can help. But now when we come to the challenges, the challenge itself is that the structure that we adopted from the World Bank sometimes back, that is it's not one-to-one. So we train farmers in small group. It goes back to what I said earlier on, that one challenge farmers are actually, the extension officers are facing, is that common interest of different crops is not there. And that is where the private sector has come. In most cases, you find that an NGO has gone to an area, it is dealing maybe in soybean. So that is already putting members or farmers together in a common interest. So I would appeal that the private sector should actually zone our areas for us to actually combat the challenge. So that maybe, for example, a ward is dealing with watermelon, and it is known for that. The training will be one. The farmers in that particular area will be having the same interest. That is in terms of a challenge. So lack of uncommon interest among farmers is one big challenge. Two, there is no combination. There's no body that combines the private sector and the government sector, so that what the private sector knows, because I know so many people, we people who work in the private sector, we have a lot of in training, we have a lot of adoption, we go to outside Africa and we bring the new technologies. That particular new technology, if I don't get a forum of sitting with the government extension officer, so that I explain to him, and also maybe we do demos together, I might have that opportunity. But now my work is restricted to a group of people given to me by my organization, so that information might not go off there. So there should be a way of utilizing all the information from all stakeholders, including the private sector and some other research institutions. Then also, I think, for example, one challenge that people get, we've seen several farmers just starting to grow different crops without even knowing the constituents of their soil. So soil testing has not been embraced at all in East Africa. To an extent, some people add fertilizer instead of fertilizer helping the crop. It brings a lot of acidity, and now you find that they use fertilizer and chemicals, but the result is either constant or even low. So moving forward, one challenge that extension officers face, and I identified that, is that there is no proper record of our soils. And if you look at the institutions that test soil, for example, when you are in Migori County, you have to move up to Kisi, Calro Center. So Calro is one of the major Kenyan research institutes. But now, can we devolve the Calro offices to maybe each sub-county? Can we have like maybe Calro officers and maybe soil cares in every sub-county? So that when an agronomist or an extension officer come to farm with a farmer X, there is that data. This is the amount of nitrogen in the soil. this is an amount of potassium in this soil, and there should be that track record of the soil, and that can only come out when soil testing is done. So I'm talking about now research centers should be devolved to county level, and if to some extent even to sub-county levels. That will give a good platform onto which the extension officers will anchor their reasoning. That is point number 2.
I'm also seeing how the digital infrastructure can come in, and the AgTechs, to try and harmonize the information and also keep a database for it for the farmers. So thank you for that. We'll also have some questions from the audience. And Derek, could you give us your insights, please?
Thank you, Doctor. So for me, on the challenges that exist in extension service provision and the digital services or in agriculture, I will refer to a certain article publication by Dr. Bitange Ndemo, or Professor Bitange Ndemo, where he outlines that technology accessibility, service discoverability, and service value proposition. So most of the extension platforms are still trying to have a way to deal with the digital literacy with the farmers, and also trying to look at the tools that are already existing. But I think the challenge comes when there is also that that Polycarp mentioned. We have very few extension services or officers within the county level serving a huge number of farmers. And there's also a grouping where there are older or senior citizen extension officers, and the new younger extension of agripreneurs and extension officers like agronomists. We've seen programs that are doing freelance agronomists and inviting them to train the youth. So I think what needs to be in the agriculture food system is alignment of all these and packaging them for the farmers and involving different stakeholders. And I think that's why I mentioned about sharing information and knowledge transfer. I think knowledge transfer is a key entity in the agri-food transformations. Opportunities that lie there are that technology is one opportunity. It has made work easier, and like Polycarp is mentioning, companies has observation data, like without data that comes from also satellite imagery and being made available for extension officers. Because I think when we talk about soil testing, most farmers know they should be testing the soil, but they do not invest in testing the soil. And those who actually test the soil are the ones who are in programs where they it's the requirement of being part of that program. And I think the thing that puts this as an opportunity is that efficiency and effectiveness can be improved with technology in the productivity on the farms. And I think that productivity in the value chain is, if it is improved, the opportunities of also having productivity in the supply chains, because there needs to be a balance. Farmers are already producing actually a lot from the farms, and 30% is lost, like the mangoes in Laikipia. And supply chain also need to be improved, that the traders are actually guided by a certain policy, and policy becomes also a challenge where there is the high level decisions are made without low level or fast mile data, where now agri-tech, that's the space it can occupy and work with the extension officers to make sure that there is evidence-based data while also using data-driven decision-making in the farm management practices. So one key use case is how can smallholder farmers use the group aspect to try to reach export markets. And I think that's something where there is traceability within the production value chain and the supply value chain. And what I mentioned about being accountable, are they meeting the standards? Are there quality and quantity issues? And I think this is now where the extension officers can be also play a role in accountability and quality assurance, not only in farm management, but also touching a little bit on the supply chain. And I think that's something most young agripreneurs and agronomists and all extension officers can embrace, because it then drives the farmers from thinking of farming as a cultural behavior, but a business-driven entity like agribusiness, where they can now earn an income from any entity that or enterprise they have on their farms. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for that. I can see some issues also of traceability there that you're mentioning along the value chain. Now, Vinay, kindly give us your insights about this, please.
Yes, actually, what I feel that is that there is a greater importance of microfinance and the small scale institutions, and they have a greater role to play in credit deepening. Because there is investment opportunities might be available with increased importance of even a concept like circular economy. And what I feel is that the people are taking, the financial institutions, small scale institutions are taking this as a business opportunity. How to pass on the information. Even the fintech companies are coming up with a innovative concept. But I feel like public finance and the policies can be used for to mobilize private finance, or we can say a sustainable finance, green bonds are there, and for the climate resilient infrastructure and support for the project preparation. How you have an innovative idea, how you can present your idea. So support for the project preparation can help to address the capacity constraint relating to the climate resilience. And again, blended finance can be used to improve the risk return profile of the investment wherever it is appropriate, and in combination with the efforts to improve the enabling environment for the private investment, because private investment will be looking for the returns, and there are a greater business opportunities in the form of the fintech companies, and with a greater importance of like a circular economy concept. And again, developing and communication infrastructure. One of the panelists discussed about the accessibility, but accessibility, affordability, how, and again, the usage of that particular concept, the penetration of a particular kind of service, again, its importance. And these all are business opportunities for institutions.
Okay, thank you very much, gentlemen, for this wonderful comments and lessons. We have learned that AgTechs can't be the only thing that are disseminating information. They have to be complemented by extension services, and the human interface is very, very important. We have also learned that there are challenges and opportunities still about our extension systems, both private and public. And I like what Derek has also said here about the interoperability, accountability, and accessibility in terms of digital interface to help enable extension service providers benefit from each other together with farmers and AgTechs. I also like the part where we are also discussing that extension service providers can support AgTechs to disseminate information and services to farmers. So I'm really grateful for you joining this. There are some questions here that are just put from one of the panelists who is saying, feel free all of you to answer it. I'll give you about, okay. Because of the essence of time, this is just a question that you can go and think about as we see how to get a solution. The question is, who should be responsible for harmonizing extension messaging? There are instances where the same farmer and in the same plot is encouraged to practice sustainable agriculture by one program and intensive agriculture by another. So there are many messages coming to the farmers. How are we supposed to harmonize this? So this is just a teaser question that all of us can think about, but in the essence of time, I'd like to say thank you so much for attending this month's Virtual Breakfast Club meeting. And we thank you for your insights as we also try and also generate others that will come. And we certainly will keep in mind that the insights that you have given us come to help farmers to, and generally the research and extension system, to try and find a good interface that helps climate resilience in agriculture for East Africa.